Hi. Uh, Hi, everybody. First of all, I've met some of you. Some of those I haven't, but I'm glad to show the system to you all. The one thing I want to say is that if there's anything you see in the system that you have questions about, definitely ask. The whole point of this is so that we can get the system working in such a way that everybody can use it, and that it's actually you can move over to it with a minimum of difficulty. So that's the plan with it. So if I have to make some changes, we've got from now until mid-May to make some changes to it before it goes live. So I'm at your beck and call. So definitely. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how the system looks, how it functions, and then I'm going to go into the back end. I'm going to show you exactly how a hike moderator uses the system and how a hike leader uses the system. There's two different ways, and then we'll get into exporting and newsletters and all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, when you first come into the system, you see a calendar here. And you can see there's different colors depending on the actual club. So I've actually imported some hikes from the Toronto Club, from our club, the Dufferin Club, and from the Niagara Club. So what you get when you'll see the actual hike show up on the date that it's been scheduled for. You'll see a little icon next to it that will signify the type of hike it is. So and you can set up your own icons, or you can use the default ones. It's up to you. So for instance, if I actually move my mouse over top of High Park here, you get a pop-up that shows you certain things about the actual hiking stuff. So, but if I click on it, I can also go right into the hike itself, and it shows you the title, the dates, the date that it takes place on, the club, the type of hike it is, the location, then the actual hike leaders. Now we can modify all of this to look whatever way you like. So that's very, very simple to do. So if you see something that you don't like, let me know. Now the hike leader, you're going to see that it says click here to contact the hike leader or leaders if there's multiples in there. What's going to happen, I just noticed I got a couple extra things in here. I'll get that fixed up. Anyways, why this is happening on our site, we actually had an issue where a spammer came through and scraped our screens and took all the email addresses. So we actually built this functionality into our system so that this comes up now and somebody clicks on this and it'll take you into a contact form. And when that form is filled out, it will send it off to the email address, but the email address is never, ever exposed in the background, ever. So that's why that's there. The distance, obviously this hike had 0 in it, but then you get the difficulty, the description, the meet at, and in Toronto's case, we actually, because we don't have the scheduling and the pre-registration built into the system at this point, we actually put a link in there so that it'll take it right over to the Toronto Club's website. So if you look, it'll go to the actual website itself and pop up. Okay, but that only happens with the Toronto Club at the moment. So if we go back to the calendar or to the actual
Tom, do you want questions now or do you want them later?
If you could ask them later on, that would be great. I'll just go through the functionality and then we'll actually go through every piece, okay? Okay, thanks. The other thing that you've got inside of here, inside of the calendar, you can actually look at it on a monthly basis as a list if you want to see it as a list. The system obviously is a little slow, but it shows each of the hikes in a list and the date. You can go through and look at it on a weekly basis. So it breaks it out week by week, daily basis, and a poster board if you want to look at the poster board. So it actually gives it kind of like a nice little layout and stuff. These tabs can be turned on and off as you like. Now, the other thing you can do inside of here is you can click on show hikes by club. So if I only wanted to see the Dufferin hikes, I would click on there and you'll see that it filters out all the Dufferin hikes. So this way somebody can look quickly at the actual hikes. The other thing that you've got is you've got the search functionality over here. So if I wanted to search for terracotta, say, I could simply search for it and it'll filter out anything that had terracotta in it. So for instance, Mild Springs, Smell the Flowers. If you notice right down in here, it's got terracotta. So it's going to find anything, it doesn't matter where it is within the actual hike entry, it's going to find it if it's in there and it'll show up. So that's one of the things that are in there as well. Let me get that out of there. And then, of course, you've got your ability to go month by month, or you can go year by year if you want. I don't know if we have any hikes in for the next year. I don't think so. No, we don't. So.
Tom?
Yes?
I just missed, just before you did the searching hikes, there was a menu on the left. I just missed it, and I didn't see how you got to that menu. Oh, show hikes by club?
Right up here where it says show hikes by club.
Yep.
If you click on it, it brings up the menu for the different.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. And so that's now in the case of, I've got a couple of instances here. The other thing is that inside of each hike, so in the Dufferin hikes, because we've been using similar functionality for a while, you can see it's quite complete inside of here. I've also built the functionality into it that if you specify GPS coordinates, it will actually come up with this Google Maps link. And if you click on it, it will bring up Google Maps and give you a point of reference where the hike is actually going to begin. So, and of course, you can go back and forth in between various views and stuff in Google Maps. The other thing that is in here, if you notice on the Niagara hike that I brought in, it actually brings up a picture. So you can also assign pictures to the hikes or not. So it's really up to you. So that's essentially the, oh yes, and also you can export whatever you see on the screen to a calendar file, and this export can be brought into Google Calendars, Outlook, pretty much any calendar that exists on the market now, because it's using the standard ICS format. You've also got the option to export out to CSV, so which is used by Excel and flat files and so on and so forth. So that's the front end functionality right now. So is there any, let me get rid of that. Is there any questions at this point about the front end functionality?
Tom, it's David from Caledon. I do have a question. Where do you put the GPS coordinates in?
I will show you that once we get inside the actual hike leaders and hike moderator section.
Okay.
Okay.
Tom, it's
this is hard. Oops, sorry.
Right. Tom Crockett. Can you do a free text search of any of the content?
Yes, you can.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yes.
This is Hart Fisher, Collingwood. Do you by any chance have a method of contacting the hike leader by phone?
Okay, inside?
Inside, I guess the where it says contact hike leader, I noticed the only way you can get them is email.
Right, but what'll happen is that there's a message box inside that is defined. You actually set up your response message. So when you contact the hike leader, the system will send a message back, And inside that message, you can put the phone numbers and your email address.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions about the front end functionality? Okay, perfect. So let's log in now. First of all, we're going to log in as a moderator, and I'll log in as the Dufferin moderator. So I click on the link up there, because the actual moderator has a lot more functionality than the hike leader. So when the actual moderator logs in, and the moderator will be the one that will approve hikes. You can also set it up if you want, so that there's so that you can have hikes automatically approved. Probably some smaller clubs may actually like that. We can set that up if it's necessary and stuff. But for those that are going to use the moderation functionality as it's built, this is the actual dashboard that you will receive. So the first thing you'll notice is that you've got view site, which simply takes you back to the main screen. Profile, which is your profile, so you can update things like your password, and I'll click on it and show you. So it gives you your password, your first name, all that kind of stuff. To get back to your dashboard, you just simply click on the Bruce Trail up at the top, and it takes you back. The new hikes moderation, I will show you that after the hike leader actually puts in an entry. But the approved hikes, so we'll take a look at the approved hikes right now. It gives you a list of the hikes that are in the system that have been approved at this point. So now these are only your hikes, only your club's hikes. Okay, so because we logged in as the Dufferin moderator, you're only going to see Dufferin hikes. And then you can go in, you can actually delete them, or you can edit them. And if you edit them, you can go in, you can say whether it's approved, yes or no, and you can change all the various fields that are inside of here. And I'll go through each of these fields when we're the hike leaders, so you can see. So the moderator can edit every single hike in the system. The new hikes are the unapproved hikes. The approved hikes are obviously the hikes that have been approved. You've also got the ability to define your own hike types. So in the case of Dufferin here, they've got two of them, a general hike and Tuesday hike. If you want to add another hike type, you simply click on Add Hike Type. You say whether it's enabled or not, give it a description, and upload a image if you want an image to actually be associated with that. So if I went something like casual hike, and I'm going to upload, sure, there's the hawk, why not? You just simply choose the hawk and you submit it, and what you're going to see now is that it's going to come up and it's going to have casual hike in here. So now that hike can be assigned to a hike when we actually choose it and stuff, or when the hike leader puts it in place. So if we go back, we also have the ability to put in pace types per club. So here's all of the Dufferin pace types, and you can edit and so on and so forth with them. And you also have the ability to put in your terrain types. So that's in here. Now, the other thing that you've got inside of here is the moderator can actually register hike leaders. So and this is a question that I would like everybody to let me know what their thoughts are. I can also very quickly add the ability in here for a hike moderator to create another moderator. I just don't know if it's necessary or not. If you think it is, please let me know. So, but the hike leader registration, you simply click on it and you say, add a hike leader. And if I went in here, I'll put in my name, put in this, we'll just say test user. And then you simply put in email address, and it's going to ask you for a secure password. And if you notice down here, there's little X's next to them. As I put in a password that actually matches what it should, they'll turn to green. And when they're all green, then you've got a valid password that the system will accept. And I'm gonna put that in again. And then you can upload a picture if you want a picture associated with somebody for their profile, if they provide you with that or not. And then once that's all set up and ready to go, you simply click on register. And, oh, I obviously didn't match these passwords up. Let's try that. And now that user has been added to the system. So you now have a hike leader registered in the system. That's me with an ID of test user. Okay, so that's how that works. And then the other functionality that you've got is you can add your own hikes as a moderator, and you can look at them. So that's, but we'll be doing the same thing with the hike leader. So I'll show you that over there. And then there's the newsletter functionality. Now, in the case of Dufferin, we've got it set up so that our newsletters look like this. They're just basically laid out one after the other. And you can click on this and you can export to PDF. So it'll actually bring it into a PDF if you want to edit them inside of a PDF editor, because we include them within our hikes. Or you can simply just highlight everything and start up something like Microsoft Word and just paste it in. So there you go. There's all your hikes inside of there as well. Now, the nice thing about it is that by doing it this way, when you send out your hike letters, if you send them out in PDF or Word format, the Google Maps link still works. So if people actually receive the newsletter, they can still click on the links and go to Google Maps and see all the maps and stuff. Now, to explain one more thing about the newsletter is that you can see that ours is actually, the Dufferin Clubs is laid out like this. Anybody that wants their newsletter to be generated out of this system and stuff for the hikes and stuff, essentially I'll sit down with you and define the format for you and stuff that you want to see it in, and then we can actually then you can export it out to PDF, or as you saw, copy it into Word. I can also export it out to XML. I can export it out to a number of different options. There is no real limit to the options we can actually export that out to. So that's the that's all the functionality that the moderator has. Now, if we log out of here and we log in as that user that I just created. So we're going to go to test user. See if I remember the password now. Okay, so now we are into our hike leaders menu. Now you can see that it's quite a bit simpler than the moderators, but they do have the same functionality, the view site, to go into the profile. If you notice, the image that I loaded actually turned out to be my profile picture up there. The hike entry is here. Your hikes, we're not going to see anything in there right now because of the fact that I haven't added any yet. And the newsletter. Now this can be turned on or off for hike leaders, as to whether the club wants the hike leaders to do it or the moderator to do it. It's really up to you. So now if I'm going to go in and enter a hike, I simply click on hike entry. And you'll see there that that hike we added showed up, the casual hike. I'm just going to make it a general hike. And just for the sake of the demo, we'll say hike title. And we'll make it the hike on the 19th. We'll start it at, say, 8 in the morning, and we will end it at 2:30. Right here, you've got the option to repeat this actual hike, either daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly, and you can specify when to make it repeat until. So if I wanted it to actually repeat for Friday and on the 19th and the 26th, I'm going to have it end on the 26th, but I'm going to make it weekly. So that's how that works. And then this is the location. I can type it. There we go. And GPS, you put GPS in here. So I'll just put one in there. We've got ourselves the distance. You can specify your pace types. So we're going to say this is a fast one, but it's moderate. Then you can put in hike leader names. So we're going to use Les here since you're online, Les. And what you'll notice is that you specify it with semicolons. I'll actually put a note up in here about that. And the same as with the hike leader email addresses, you separate them with semicolons so that the system knows how to actually send the emails individually to each person. Inside of this section here that says auto response message for contact form, that's the part where I showed you that it said click here to contact the hike leader. And in here you can say, thanks for contacting me. My number is 999-999-99. Whoops. And my email is tom@thayer.ca. Say, and you can put whatever you want inside of here. Then in the description of the hike, you can put in, this is the description. You can also do things like you can put in something here. So say you go over to here, you can toggle this open, you can change. So if you want it to be in blue, this is blue. This is bold, so we can bold it or italicize it. So it is a WYSIWYG editor. It's a HTML editor. And then if you wanted to actually add an image to the hike, you can click on here, and let's go to my desktop and grab an image. So let's try this one. Oh, it's too big. So it does have a limit on them. So let's put my snow rainbow on there. That's too big too. All right, let's find something that's good. What about that? Oh, okay. I'm gonna be on a hike. Anyways, so it's gonna upload the image. It'll take a second to upload the image and stuff, depending on the actual speed of the internet that day. When I'm talking over the internet, it takes a little bit longer. So now all that information is filled in. Now all I got to do is just submit it. And what will happen is that it will submit the hike and it'll take me back into here. Now if I click on your hike entries, you'll see there's my hike. And if I wanted to go in and edit it, I can click on edit, and this will only show my hikes, not not anybody else's hikes. So whoever the hike leader is, that's who's actually going to be able to see this. And the system is a little slow today. I'm not sure why, but all right, anyways. Let's go into here. So that's the hike leader now. So that's basically all that they can do. So I'm going to log out now, and then I'm going to log in as the Duffer moderator. So and if I click on new hikes moderation now, what you're going to see is there's the new hike. Now I can edit that hike, and I can go in and validate that everything is correct on it. And we can see that it's all, everything that the test user put in is there. And then I simply say, yes, it's been approved. And then I click on update. And if you remember, we set that up for the 19th and the 26th. If we go back to the calendar, there's the hike on the 19th and the 26th. But if we go into May, which would be the next one, it will actually not be there any longer because it was set up to repeat. So that's essentially the functionality of the hike leader and the moderator. So does anybody have any questions at this point?
This is Floyd here. I had a question about when you created the hike, you selected repeat.
Correct.
Is there some way to do it by date as opposed to every same day every week or every Thursday or whatever it is?
Let me see if I understand what you're talking about here.
Like 1 week might be Tuesday and then 2 weeks later it's a Thursday kind of thing?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't know if there is at this point, but I can think of a way I can make that happen. Let me see, 1 second. Let me get into here. So what you're saying is you wanted to basically repeat in here.
Selected, basically have I guess an extra check off where if you check it, it'll wait for like dates, actual dates. As opposed
I see what you're saying. So you're saying to actually specify multiple dates.
Yeah.
I can't see why we couldn't add that in there. That's for sure.
Okay, it would be nice just because I've only used like the Niagara system once, and the first one I did, they wanted hikes on the same hike, but different days and 2 weeks apart kind of thing.
Okay.
So it was easier just to select the dates that they wanted as opposed to, you couldn't use the repeat because it wasn't the same every time.
So, okay, so you want to be able to specify individual dates?
Yes, if that's possible. Well, it's possible with the system that they were using in the past, but I'm not sure if it's possible now, but I'm just making the request.
Yeah, I can definitely make that happen for sure.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Lori, also from Niagara. And what we do in Niagara, we have a free hiking list. In other words, it might be a list of 75 possible hikes. Right after they just pick out the hike they like to do. So every couple of months, the same hike might repeat itself. I think this is what I don't know your name, but what you were talking about.
Sorry, you're very quiet there right now. I can't really hear you that well.
You know what? I can't. My phone is on the highest volume.
Oh.
So okay. So the current speaker, I'm with you. This is what we do. Did that help?
Sorry, Corey, we can't really hear you very well. But I think that what you're saying is hikes repeat maybe even monthly? Maybe somebody else from Niagara could clarify.
Not on a regular basis.
This is
From Niagara. From my understanding, I have never created the hike schedule myself, so if anybody is wiser, please jump in. A draft hike schedule is created for the quarter, so covering a 3-month period with suggested dates and locations, and the hike leaders will select the hikes that they are willing to lead and submit that to the hike moderator. So it's a little bit in reverse, Tom, of how you're presenting it to us. And the other big challenge for Niagara, and one of the reasons that we do it this way, is that we publish the hike schedule with the newsletter every 3 months. And I just calculated how many hikes are represented on our hike schedule, and there can be up to 96 hikes, and it is limited to 4 pages print.
Okay. Okay, so we would have to basically define the template inside of the system so that it matches what you're doing right now. We did the same thing within Dufferin, which is why we actually knocked it down to having them on like continuous lines and stuff in order to make it all fit.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so as far as so if I understand what you're saying, what you do is you create a draft of the actual hikes, then you send it out to each of the hike leaders and they choose what they want.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Okay, so now when you create that draft, do you create that on your system at the moment, or do you?
It's an email. It's an email that is formatted to look like the schedule, the final schedule layout. And so people just pick the date and the hike that they want to lead.
And then you enter it.
They email it back. They email their names back.
Right. And then at that point, you enter it into the system, correct?
Right.
Okay. Well, yeah, you can still stay with the same process. The other thing I suppose we could do is we could actually, you could enter the hikes into the system, generate that list, and as you get the list back, as you get the answers back, because you don't have to put in the hike leaders to actually put the hikes into the system, we could actually put a output in here so that you can send the draft off via email, and when they reply, just go in and edit the hike and approve it at that time.
Did you say that you had one moderator per club?
No, you can have as many moderators as you want.
Okay, I was just wondering about backups.
Yeah, no, there's no issue there whatsoever. So I think for the most part, we could probably handle exactly what you're doing and save you from actually having to wait until they reply to put the hikes in the system.
One more question, Tom. It's Margaret. I told you about the problem with Formidable Forums. I never did, I wasn't able to get a solution. So I'm wondering if I have a conflict with the server or the theme that was chosen, but it is very odd because it's with the Gmail account, which is not really associated with the website at all.
Oh, that could simply be a setting within the actual.
Because I tried changing all the settings.
Well, I can take a peek at that.
And then I ran out of time. I couldn't deal with it any longer.
well, the nice thing about it is that when you're using this system, it's not going to rely on your system. That's the other thing which I wanted to show people. I'll show you afterwards how we can actually the different options for integrating in this into your actual websites and stuff. So you won't have to worry about conflicts within your website when you actually do integrate with this system. So,
Tom, it's David from Caledon. question for you.
Okay.
Would it be possible where you have the hike leader go in and he can see the like the output? Would it be able for him to go in and see the hikes that have not been authorized or validated yet by the so that he can see hikes that are proposed plan?
I can't see why not. We could definitely. It's really just a matter of now. Would you want him to be able to edit those hikes or just see them?
I think I'd have to think about that one, but I think at this point I'm thinking just see them so that he could see what hikes have somebody has already put their name against.
Yeah.
So he doesn't put in another hike on the same day. He can pick a day where there isn't a hike.
Right. Definitely we could do that. I'm going to write that down. To allow hike leaders.
So Tom, it's Glenda here. While you're writing,
Mm-hmm.
this is the same topic as the previous, just before the one about looking at them, about getting information. We often do the same hikes year after year, and I have a file. I do the entry because we have very few hike leaders, and I just put them in. So I would be doing this for all the hikes, and what I do is I cut and paste, correct, into our system, and then it goes to our webmaster.
Right.
So is there something in here where I don't have to enter all these details again the next year and only have to change the date or the leader? Is there an archive somewhere?
Actually, okay, I'm glad you asked that, okay? One, there's a couple options in here. One is you could always just set it up yearly if it's on the same date, okay? So that's one. If it's not on the same date, the other thing you can do is, I'll show you. So say I'm the moderator here, and, oops, sorry, clicked on the wrong thing. So if you go into your approved hikes, even though off the system here, I'll show you something. Even though the hike itself, okay, has passed, it'll disappear off the calendar, but it will not disappear out of the system. So what that means is that you can go into your approved hikes, and the one thing I am adding in here is the ability to search for one. I didn't finish that off. I'm hoping to have that done in the next day or two. But you can actually go in and you can say, okay, so let's say this hike, we're going to change this hike, and we're going to say that it expired. So it was actually on April 2nd, okay? So now what you're going to see is that the Quadzilla #3 hike will not appear in the calendar. So say that was one of your yearly ones. So it's not there. So it was actually on April 2nd up here. So what you can do is you can say, okay, so it's next year. I want to have that hike actually appear on April 3rd next year. So I'll scroll down to 2020, right? Everything else is exactly the same. It's still approved, and just save it. So if I update it now, if I go and I look at the calendar and I go to next year, so 2020, oh, did it approve? Or was that me?
That was you, I think, Tom. I think you left the date at 2019.
Did I? Okay.
So. Yeah.
Yeah, so you get the gist though. So that's, yeah, I did leave it there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I understand that. I do understand that. That's great. So it's going to keep, like 3 years from now, 2019, 2020, 2021 will all be backed up in there.
Correct.
Okay, so that solves the archive problem. Okay.
Right. So that'll be in there, And so I just changed it there now to the proper date. So now if we go to 2020, you'll see that it will appear. There it is, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So it's Margaret from Niagara again. Did I see that once the hike has expired, it disappears off the schedule?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, that is correct. We've got the option to leave it there, and depending on what you want, on a club-by-club basis, we can actually do that as well. Which in the next little bit, I'll show you how each club has its own calendar as well.
Tom, it's Debbie here from Niagara. I have two questions about sort of that kind of cloning aspect of repeating a hike at a later date.
Right.
In the example you showed, it copied all of the description in that, and it also copied the hike leader.
Correct.
Is there an opportunity to, once the hike is approved, to push out an email to that hike leader saying, hey Ingrid, your hike for next year has been approved, giving her the heads up that it should be in her calendar for next year?
That functionality isn't there at the moment, but I'll make a note of it. That's actually not a bad idea at all.
It would save a lot, I believe, if people are submitting hikes that are pending approval, not just the cloning aspect, any hike that's approved, that from the moderator's standpoint, once it's approved, the email goes out and it goes approved, and then everybody's got it in their calendar.
Yep, that's actually, as you were talking there, I was thinking about that, and that's actually not that difficult to do.
Thank you.
Tom Hart-Fisher from Collingwood again. I have a couple of questions regarding the hike leaders using this system. Number one, they need a password. They can generate the password. If the password is forgotten, is there a way that they can get back in?
Yes, there is.
Okay, good. I don't even need the details, as long as there's something that they can get. Secondly, we've got a number of, well, should I say, older hike leaders who may not be as happy about filling in the forms, especially if they're on the computer. Have you given little mini courses on how to fill this out, or how do you find the hike leaders responding to putting in the information that's required in this schedule?
Well, actually, Les is on the line here, and Les, did we have any real pushback from within the Dufferin Club?
Les is getting a coffee.
As far as I know.
No, it's okay. I just had to unmute myself. As far as experience with hike leaders goes, it's gone fairly well. Nobody was dead opposed to using it. I would say I have to do perhaps more editing than one might expect. People put stuff in the wrong fields. They repeat a lot of things in the hike description that have already been covered, despite the little instruction not to do that. So, but I certainly haven't had any of our hike leaders totally unable to use it. There is a lot of fear going into it among those who maybe aren't as computer savvy, but it is a fairly straightforward system to use.
Yeah, it looks really good from my first perusal of the system. The final question that I have at this moment is the posting, the WordPress posting. Seems to me that it's not really a newsletter, but it's just basically the hike schedule.
Yeah, well, that is what it is.
We get someone who can modify that. For example, our newsletter editor, can they go in and add more to that particular section of the module than just the hikes?
Sure, we can. Sure. we can get that going as well. There's I'll get into that part in a second and show you how that works. We'd have to give them editor permissions, but they could definitely do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
This is Jackie here. I will say that staff will also be on hand to help with anybody who's having trouble and needs extra training. So we have a few staff on the call tonight that are learning the system, and we'll be here to help out as much as we can.
Tom, it's Wayne in Toronto. Would the club moderator be able to do an upload from our existing database of events into this system, like to move an entire block of events in at one time?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because right here I've got a import routine that I actually made for Toronto, and this is the source code. And it's simply, you start up the application, you click on import,
right,
and there's all your hikes from your system right now.
Right.
And then you export it out, and there's a facility within the system, which I'll show you, that you can actually import everything in. All your hikes that are in here right now have been done that way.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Tom?
Dennis Hart
Yes.
again from Collingwood. I'd be interested in learning how to do that, because I'm sitting on 66 hikes right now that I've just typed out, and I would really be prefer being able to add that.
And what, the import you're talking about?
Yes, absolutely.
It's as simple, and what I can do, I kind of anticipated that question once I mentioned that. What I can do, what it is it's a CSV file that actually gets imported, and I can provide anybody with the actual layout of it. And as long as you format your hikes up into that format, we can definitely import them in.
Okay, you wouldn't be able to write quick little import modules for the various clubs, because I'm sure as guns that not all the clubs have the same format.
Well, the reason we could do it for the Toronto club is because all of their hikes are currently inside of a database.
Okay, yeah, ours aren't.
Yeah, so no matter how you spin it around, we would have to just basically take what you had and format it up into a CSV file. We have no choice.
Okay, so yeah, basically then I might as well add it directly to the hike schedule. Okay, thank you.
Fast. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Tom, in the case of Caledon, we do have it in a database. So
yep,
you would be able to grab that. If we gave you the characteristics of the file, you would be able to grab it.
If you can give me access to the actual database and stuff, I could definitely modify things so that it'll work for you, definitely.
Okay.
I think Susan from Peninsula is trying to ask a question, but I'm not sure.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
No, it's Glenda, I think.
Oh, sorry, Glenda.
I keep saying Tom, but that's okay. I'm going back now to the input, and you have the two places. You've got click here to contact leader, and then you also have the pre-registration thing. Can we look at that for a minute?
The pre-registration is just for Toronto, right? At this point.
Okay, because the thing with it for us anyway in Beaver Valley is the only time that person who wants to hike is going to contact us is through registration or the email and the phone number. So we wouldn't even have that click here to contact hike leaders, but we would definitely have register with leader, or however we say it on the other part. I don't know where it is on here. But so
well, you can change this to say the click here to contact hike leaders. You can change it to say anything you want.
Yeah, but then why do we need the two places? Like, there was another place you showed us that said register with or something.
What, down here?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is only for the Toronto Club. It will not show
Okay.
up on yours.
Okay, so we could modify that green click here to contact leaders to what we call register with leader. And
Yep.
then it's going to take them to the same way that it does the contact. They don't get the email right then. It goes in and we send the stuff back to them.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So so what that does is hide emails from trollers,
Yep.
but it allows them to email us once they get into this. Okay.
That's
Gotcha.
right. Exactly. One moment.
Okay.
I make a little note here. So I want to double check that I did mean to build the functionality so that you can change that text. So I just want to make sure.
And while you're writing that, the last thing I had at this point was, you know, when you put the GPS coordinates in and then it's going to go right to Google Maps, you had a list of coordinates there that you clicked on one.
Correct.
How do you know which coordinate that is? How am I going to know that that's Epping Lookout? Like, how am I going to quickly find through the name of it, the coordinates?
Most of the actual how can I put it? Most of the starting spots for the hikes and stuff are listed in the actual Bruce Trail Guide now for most of the spots. If you've got something that's not in the actual Bruce Trail Guide, you would have to go into Google Maps and just basically find it and then copy the coordinates. So for instance, I'll bring up Google Maps here.
No,
right?
it's okay. I understand that part. What I'm saying is that I have a file that I created at home with all of the Beaver Valley ones with a name so that I can quickly grab it. So I would have to, on yours, it has all of them. So I'm not going to be able to quickly go in and grab the ones out of there that match our locations because they don't have a name. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm not quite understanding. Sorry.
Well, can you go where that list is?
Yeah. I think that the list that pulled down was just really local to Tom's computer.
Are you talking?
Oh,
So your list would be local to your computer. So when you pulled down that list and added a GPS coordinate to the hike, it had a whole list, but that's not within the system. That's just Tom's computer filling it in.
okay. So when I first do this, because I want them preloaded, right? So every time I put one in, it's really quick. Then I'm going to put them in. That's what you're saying.
As you put them in, they'll show up in that list.
So can I get, Tom, a name or something? Because otherwise then I'm cross-referencing, oh, which one is this? Oh, this is Epping Lookout. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you just had the numbers there, the coordinates.
Are you talking about, one moment, let me see if I understand what you're talking about.
If you scroll down.
Yeah, that one.
Tom,
that's the one. So right there, that one, let's pretend that's my club. I don't know off by heart, say that top one is Epping.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is that is just the browser functionality. I don't even control that.
Okay, so it's not a big deal. I can have them beside me on a piece of paper, and then I guess I just skip through till I find the one I want.
Yeah, just make a quick little Excel file with the name that you normally use in one column and the GPS coordinates that you got from Google Maps in another. Then you can cross-reference them and have them anytime you need them.
Yeah, I have that already. I was just hoping that I would have it in this, but that's fine. I can just look at it.
Yeah, it's Les. If I could to speak to this issue, the ones that are on there, what it is when you put in a GPS coordinate, it remembers it. So those are the ones that I have used. And where it is helpful, you still have to look up your GPS coordinate, but once you start to type it, that list will shorten down. And So eventually it will have the whole GPS coordinate you're going to put in. So it does save you a number of keystrokes, but that's all it is. It's a memory function.
Well, that's great. That's great. So you don't have to scroll through. You can just start typing it.
That's right.
The other thing is you could just cut and paste it out of your Excel spreadsheet if you've got it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any other questions?
Tom, it's Debbie here from Niagara.
Okay.
It's just a question with regard to inputting for either the moderator or the hike leader to input the hike into the schedule. It had the drop down for the hike leader. I wonder if there's a way of tying that into the next line, which I believe is the hike leader's email address.
I'm not, hold on, let me edit one of these. And so you were saying into here, you're talking about when you put in the hike leader's name?
Yep.
I see what you're saying.
That it automatically pair to that hike leader's preferred email address, because we do have some hike leaders who have more than one email address, or
what?
I'm just trying to eliminate spots where there are maybe transcription errors or
Right, right, understood. What we do have, and I suppose I could take it and I could modify it a little bit. One of the things we did inside of the Dufferin site, I'll show you, is we actually, if you notice in our in like our volunteer area, we've got that same thing where it says, please click here to contact our volunteer coordinator or Carl Taffel, our trail director, so on and so forth. One of the things I did build into our system was the ability to actually track, let me get in here. We've got an extra option in here that I built so that we can actually track the various board members and stuff. So if you notice here, we got view email recipients. And what it does is it keeps track of the person's name and their email address. And what I've done is I've basically used this. If you notice here where it says showing contact form, if I go to here and I go to the contact us, our form actually allows you to go in and pick and choose who you want to contact. So I could probably build something very similar into the system. What that would mean is that where it says hike leader names, you would, if you wanted to put in multiple hike leaders, you would have to click a little plus sign to put in to add more hike leaders and stuff. But if we did it that way, then you could probably set up your system so that you define your hike leaders and their email addresses and then just add hike leaders.
Yes, I think that's what I'm asking, because some people have like their email addresses, I love to hike. Well, that means absolutely nothing to me. Like, and the I guess it's up to the moderator to know who each and everybody's handle is, but I'm just trying to minimize the cross-checking and the Excel sheet required to create the 96 hikes per quarter that we do. That's all.
Right. The only issue I see with that, and we could definitely implement this on a club by club basis, I suppose, is that the hike leader enters in the hike leader names, right? Now, if the hike moderator has not entered in a hike leader name, it's not going to show up, right?
Right, right.
That's the only downside to it. So I suppose I could put in a other box.
I think what all I'm asking is that when the moderator enters in the hike leader name, that it auto-populates the next field, which is the hike leader's email address.
Right.
So that the profile is captured as opposed to just the hike leader name.
But
yeah.
But the hike leader is going to be putting that information in, not the moderator.
That's correct.
The hike leader name will be put in by the hike leader, and they'll put the email address in they want to use.
Not in Niagara. We're not doing it that way. We're doing it the reverse, where the moderator would be putting in most of the information.
Okay, sorry then.
Right. So I could definitely build it in on a club by club basis for that to actually happen if you want. Okay, let me, I'll make a note of that.
Okay, so we're just past 7 o'clock now. Tom, is there some more functionality that you want to show? I was hoping to, depending on people's timing, have maybe another half an hour. Does that seem reasonable?
Sure. I'm just making here, there's.
I just want to make sure there's enough time to show all the functionality that you wanted to show, plus any other questions that have come up.
Okay, I'm just making a note here, Jackie, one moment.
No problem. There's a lot of good ideas being generated for additional functionality that can be added in.
Jackie, well, it's Glenda again. While he's writing, so how much time have we got to practice?
So the plan is that the site will be soft launched, which means that you'll be able to enter information. I don't know if it'll be right away or by May 1st. So any changes that need to happen after this conversation or this training session will happen in the next couple of weeks. Then you'll have from May 1st, really for most of the month of May, to put hikes in. It's going to be announced in the magazine that comes out at the end of May.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and to add on to that, I'd like to say, please do not hesitate to get a hold of me on anything. I will answer as fast as I can. Okay. Okay, so as far as other functionality goes, let me show you something else in here now. I'm gonna log out of here. One of the things I wanted to show you is the fact that there's also set up in the system, right there. It's also set up into the system that we can, if you look in here, there's calendars, and every club has its own calendar. So what that means is that if you want to pull just your hikes into your website, you can, and it's as simple as us actually sending you the link. There's a couple of ways you can do it. So if you go down into here, one of the things is you can embed it as an iframe into your site, okay, and it will pull it in. The other thing is that up in here you can simply, we can send you this link, and from anywhere. So this is the peninsula. Actually, I don't know if I entered any hikes for the peninsula, so let's, yeah, I did. Okay, one moment. So, oh, that thing. Let's get rid of this. So I can go into any browser and simply, you can put that link from the peninsula website and have it automatically come over into the Bruce Trail, and it will show you only the peninsula hikes, which I guess there wasn't any. Sorry. Let's find another one. But you'll see it. We'll grab the Dufferin one because I know there's hikes in there. Or Toronto. We'll grab the Toronto one. So here's the Toronto. So if we simply use the link for Toronto and paste over to it, then you're going to see all of the Toronto hikes and stuff that are in there at the moment. So we've got this one here. And we didn't add in the one thing to let you know. So you'll see that only one of those, that's because of the import routine. You do the Dufferin one, which we added out of the system, you'll see that all of theirs will show up. So So that's the other functionality. You can choose how you want your calendar to display, or you can display the whole thing from your site. It's really up to you. So if we do it with Dufferin, you'll see that it's just a link. It's just a link over to the system and stuff. That's all it is. And you can show only your hikes within the system.
So you can show your own calendar as your main one, and then just put a link to the general one top, the other one.
That's right. That's exactly it. So that's I built that functionality into the system so that it would actually handle it that way, so that it would separate things. Because I know that some of us are going to want just our own hikes on our website, and then have a link over to the main Conservancy hikes, right?
Right.
The other bit of functionality that's in here, where are we? To show you how we actually define the newsletters and stuff is, you'll see here the Dufferin newsletter. You were asking about somebody being able to come in and put in their own stuff. This
Correct.
is basically just being laid out, and you can do it visually. All these little tags here and stuff correspond to things over in the side of here. So if I wanted to actually go in and after distance on the Dufferin hike, I wanted to put the image, I could just simply click on it and then save it. And if you wanted to put more within your newsletter, there are pages within the system. So the Dufferin, let's find the Dufferin one, Dufferin newsletter here. And we'll be able to set this up on an individual basis. You'll see that what we've done is we've actually put all this stuff up the top. So the pace, our correct criteria and stuff, and then the tag. So what that is up here. So I would have to train some people on how to do this, but you can create your newsletter to be whatever you want. So if you wanted to cut and paste something in here to add into the Dufferin newsletter, say we go to our Dufferin site and we happen to have the newsletter on there right now. So it's down here. So let's open it up and say I wanted to put this at the beginning of it. I could simply copy it, whatever it may be, go over into here, paste it in, format it up the way I wanted it to be. So if we did that and we said that we wanted it to be a heading 3, or we wanted it to be bold, whatever it may be, and then you can actually set it up so that the whole thing is formatted whatever way you want, right? And then if I updated that, if you went into the system as the moderator now, or the hike leader into the newsletter, it'll look kind of messy here, but you'll get the idea. So if I went Dufferin moderator, and I went in here, and I go on the Dufferin newsletter now, what you're going to see is that it will have now modified the newsletter and has all that stuff in the beginning and then the stuff that we had before. So that's how you can modify newsletters and stuff. Obviously, you'd have to format it up better and stuff, but it's definitely there. So you can do whatever you want in that regard. The other thing I wanted to show you is okay. The other thing I wanted to show you in here is that as far as your pages go and your calendars and stuff, we can modify pretty much anything we want inside of the system. So inside of Formidable Forms here and stuff, if on a club by club basis you wanted to put some extra information, say, inside of the hike entry form. So say I wanted the, like you'll see here, the Toronto hike link, that's specifically for Toronto. I also built into the system the functionality so that if, say, we wanted to put, I don't know what it would be, some special field for the Dufferin Club. So Dufferin special field, okay? Quite simply, all I've got to do is add a field into the form, and then down here where it says use conditional logic, all I do is I just say, show this field if the club is equal to Dufferin. Oops, sorry. So that's how simple it is for us to actually to actually add fields and stuff into the system. So that's to give you a little bit of a peek at the back end and maybe get your minds going on things that you think you need within the system. I don't want you to hold off on suggesting something because you think it may be a little difficult to do. Chances are it's probably not.
So Tom, do you want us just to email those to you? Yes,
that would be great. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So if we now log in as the Dufferin hike leader, so if we go Dufferin, oops, let's go back over to here where it's easier. Let's go Dufferin hike leader, and what you'll see, just to give you a good example here and stuff, if I go into the hike entry now form, you'll see that we got the Dufferin special field here. Whereas if I log in as the Toronto hike leader, or is it Toronto? If I go into the hike entry in this case, because it's Toronto, you're not going to see that field. Okay. That's probably it. We're going to have to provide people with logins. And if you notice in the Toronto hikes, they've got different hikes and stuff, and they've got different down here terrains and so on and so forth. The pace types seem to be pretty standard club by club, but the terrains and hike types seem to change. So if there's, we're gonna have to provide everybody, I guess, Jackie, with logins and stuff, right?
Yes, we will do that. We'll work through that list and provide everybody with logins and the necessary information, and we'll be keeping track of all of that information, so in case somebody loses their password or whatever.
Right. So is that
over the next couple of weeks?
Is that login to work on the soft launch? To enable us to work on the soft launch?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Jackie, this question is directed at you. Is this whole hike schedule going to be published somewhere on the main Bruce Trail site?
Yes, it will be.
Is there going to be a quick link on the front page to get to it?
Maybe Laura can answer that. She's on this call too, and she has been setting up the website. Laura's just on mute, so I'll give her a second to get off mute.
Can you hear me now? This is Laura.
Yep.
Hi. Yes, we can think of a number of different places. We'll try to make it as easy to get to as possible. Heading to brucetrail.org, you could head to news and events. It would be an event. The hike schedule could fit under there. That's where we're thinking first of all. But we could play around with it a little bit.
I would like to see a link on the main page, just a link, and because people have difficulty finding stuff. It's a very, very large site.
And we'll definitely be promoting it as it does launch. So there'll be a bit of a, it'll have probably a scrolling image on the homepage.
Thank you.
Jackie, it's David again. Could you have a user ID and an email address and a password for me for the Bruce Trail system today?
Right.
Would you be able to make it so that you could use that information to let me in as whatever we asked you to set it as?
Yeah, that's something that I can consider. I'm gonna have to review what usernames are already created, and it might be that we already have like Caledon Hills Hike Leader at brucetrail.org created. So we'll definitely be looking
of individual. You've got my name, my user ID, and my password for me specifically, and my Bruce Trail number.
Yeah. I think
this is Laura again. I should just clarify for folks though that the login that you'll use as a hike leader and hike moderator is a separate system than the login, for example, you would use as a member to renew your membership or buy something. They're actually going in different places, logging into different places right now.
Right. Well, we could though basically duplicate, I suppose, in the system, because that's something I probably didn't show you, is that, let me show you, is that to actually set somebody up as a moderator, it's actually fairly simple. What you do is you go into the users here, and if you notice, you'll see that I've got all the listings in here right now, where we've got like Beaver Valley Hike Moderator, and you'll see they got roles. So if you want to add in a user, you can simply go add user, give them the username, email address, first name, last name. Then you set the role here as the hike moderator, and the additional role would be, in that case, Beaver Valley, right? And then add the user in. So there's no reason that we can't give them the same username and email and password, I suppose. Right?
That's right. You're right, Tom. So maybe what will need to happen is each club will need to let us know who they want to be their hike moderator, and we'll work with that person to set them up with their same username and password as used on the Bruce Trail main site.
Keeping in mind that if you make any changes to your password,
it won't change in both places.
It's not going to change in both places. These are separate logins.
Yeah,
that's right.
Definitely. You'll have to change it in both places right now anyways. That's for sure.
Tom?
Yes?
Tom? It's Glenda again. I don't have, I would like to start looking at the data entry section before the soft launch, but I have no access to that. Is there a way for you to email us a copy of that file just so that we can read the different headings and look at what we might like to change?
Sure thing. Definitely. I can send that along and stuff. I would like to know what people want to change, because on a club by club basis, I know that there's certain things that probably you want worded differently. I'm not sure, but
yeah, that's exactly right. But I kind of need a reference, and I can't access a reference on my computer.
Yeah.
So I need a copy of that whole name, the whole thing of the entry, so that I can look at it and go, okay, I need to note this to Tom, I need to note this to Tom, etc.
So you want a screenshot of the hike entry screen, correct?
Yeah, the whole thing, yep. That would be fine.
Sounds good. I'm just making a note here now. Perfect.
And there will be some tweaks after the soft launch as well, if needed. So it's going to be a live system where you know, updates can be made for each club as they're needed as you go through.
Good.
Great. Are there any other questions for Tom?
I had one. This is Floyd here. From early in the presentation, you had a section where you had checked off all to see all the hikes in one calendar, and then there was check marks for each individual club.
Right.
I just wondered, can you click 2 clubs and just have 2 clubs
Sure.
worth? Or
Sure can. Here, I'll show
okay,
you.
that's fine. As long as it does it, that's fine.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's no, you can take it, you can put in as many clubs as you want. So if we wanted
Okay.
to,
And the other thing I had was when you print, you said you could print out the calendar. When it prints it out, does it take each of those boxes and break it up and add the detail from each box in the printout?
generally what you would do if you wanted to do something like that, you would go over to the list or something, and then it'll give you all the hikes, right?
Okay, so the list will list everything in that month.
Yeah, but I think
Okay.
what you were referring to though is the newsletter. Am I right?
No, that was in the
Okay.
calendar.
Okay, cool. And the in the calendar, yeah, you can definitely. And that's the other thing too. If people can take a look at this address right now, hikes.brucetrail.org, it is active. Okay, it's not published, but it is active. So each of you can actually come in here and look at the system, and you may see changes on a day-by-day basis because I will be changing things, or somebody else may be, but you can come in and look at it. And I'd like, I would really appreciate it if you went in and looked at each of these kind of options and said what you like, what you don't like. Like I like the poster board myself because it's actually kind of modern. So
I had one more question. You
And
said
we can circulate that link after this along with the link to the recording. I'll do that tomorrow.
all right, perfect.
and you said that you could download if you had a file in an CSV format. Is there a certain format that's required? Let's say we wanted to input our hikes for the whole year in a CSV document to be loaded onto the system. It's probably easier than doing each individually in the system, I would think. But is there a format that that should be followed?
Yes, there is. The one thing that I do want to clarify though is that there are certain things that will not happen if you don't input the hikes via the system. Okay.
Okay.
So the reason the import was there was because Toronto had hundreds of hikes. Right. It's as simple as that. But if you notice inside of here and stuff, there is, how can I put this? The one thing you can't import, for instance, none of the Toronto hikes will have pictures. Okay, there is no facility for that. Just to give you an idea. So those are the kind of things that you really need to think about, because there's going to be, and the other side too is that if you had, so how can I, okay, good. As you see, I'm going to log out here for a second. One of the other things that you cannot do with it, because obviously when you're doing an import, it's a system import, is that the Dufferin Hike Leader, because I actually went in there and stuff and put in the hikes with it and stuff, when they log in, so say that was Joe Blow or whatever, doesn't really matter. The Your Hikes section, where all these hikes show up, you will not be able to assign them to individual users, because it's actually the system that is importing them, right? So your hike leaders would not be able to come in and edit their hikes.
Yes. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
We'd be cool with that.
Right, so that's you got to keep in mind that there are a couple of limitations to the actual imports.
Okay, thanks, Tom. If there's any last question in this few remaining minutes.
I've got one, Jackie.
Okay.
On the main screen, Tom, are you going to have that list calendar option? I didn't see it there.
Are you talking about
on the Bruce Trail website?
On here?
Yeah, there was at the top of, there was a place before, I remember, that said that the user, when they go into our website, can choose list or calendar.
Right here.
Is that just because we're already in the calendar, right?
Right, so you've got the month there. If you click on list here, it's going to give you a list, right?
Okay.
And
yeah.
I added more functionality. You can list it by week, you can list it by day, by poster board. And just to let you know, because the calendars are defined on a club by club basis, you can turn on and off this stuff as well. So each of those tabs, if you don't like having the day tab within your own club calendar, we can simply turn it off.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great job, Tom.
Yes.
It looks really, really interesting. There's an awful lot to take in at one setting, so I think we're going to have to play with it. But I really like the looks of it from what you've shown us so far. So congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. It's been fun actually building this thing. So.
Yes, big thanks to Tom for all the time he has put in developing this as a volunteer. We wouldn't have been able to do it without Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tom. It's Debbie from Niagara, and I know I bombarded you with many questions, but thank you very much. I do appreciate it, and it's all to make a super duper product. So thank you so very much.
Yeah.
And thanks also for being so accepting of the individuality of the clubs. I really, really like that.
Yeah, that's what I want to do, because every club approaches things a little bit differently. But I've also got to say thanks to all of you for helping with all the input as well. So it's a joint effort, that's for sure. So.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. And look in your email tomorrow for this information that came out of this session tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.